Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Leni Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Hello, welcome to another podcast episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am your host, Leni Cavazos, and I am so excited to be here today with another amazing episode of this podcast that I love. I have to tell you that I'm so excited because I just got the news that this podcast is the number 3 podcast out of all the retreat podcasts out there. And that's all because of you. So if you like these episodes, please follow us and make sure to leave a review so more people can get access to it. And thank you so much in advance already for this. Now, today, what are we going to be talking about today? So today we're going to go deeper into building a 6-figure retreat business because I am truly, truly convinced that you deserve to run a profitable business, a business that allows you to create that life of your dreams. Those desires that you're waiting for are all yours for the taking. Now, how do we do that? You might be asking yourself, well, Leni, that's such a great idea. Why didn't I think about it myself when I'm struggling to sell a couple of single seats for my retreats or tickets, however you want to call it? Well, one of the reasons this is not happening is because you're not following a system. You are doing what you think is the best option for you and for your business. But the reality is that behind the scenes, everything that we want to treat like a business needs systems, methods, standard operating procedures, because we need to treat our business like a business, not like a hobby. And I won't get tired of talking over and over again about the difference between the two. Big difference. Hobby is something we're passionate about. We do not need to profit from it because it's just something that we enjoy. But when we treat our business like a business and we give it the respect that it deserves, the consistency, everything changes. Absolutely everything changes. And it is your chance and your opportunity to make that happen. And it's not as difficult as you might think. So now, today we're going to be talking about one of the pillars of building a 6-figure retreat business. Now, if you want to go deeper into it, you can go and grab my newly released book where we go deeper into each single pillar. But I want to give you a little bit of a taste for you to ask yourself the question, is this the right thing for me? Is this the right next step in my business? Maybe you're dreaming of hosting retreats, or you already have hosted retreats, but they're not as profitable as they could be. Maybe you lost money in some of them, and I do not want you to be losing money. Now, there's a lot of people out there in the retreat industry that will tell you that it's okay to lose money on the first couple of retreats. And I say, no way. You should not be losing money from a retreat. Because if you were working at a corporate job and you told your boss, this is my project and it's going to lose money for the company, what would they tell you? Would they say, oh yes, it's okay. Go ahead, Mildred. We are all here in business to lose money. They would not. As simple as that. They just wouldn't. So why would you do yourself the same just because it's your business? So when we plan and we design for profit, everything changes. And that's the first pillar that we cover in the system, because you need to design for profit. And when I'm talking about design right here, I'm not talking about designing your retreat and choosing your location and creating the itinerary. That it is very important, don't get me wrong. But we're here talking about designing a business, not just a single retreat. It's a big difference in between one and the other. Okay? So when we're designing for profit, that means that we need to take in consideration who we are, how do we want to run our business, the capacity that we have to run this business. Not everyone can run retreats every month. You might have another business, you might have a family, you might not just want to, and that's totally okay. And that's when we design for profit, everything is different. Because we're starting with the goal in mind, with this big vision of how our business is supposed to look like. Where do we want to take it? And that's just sweet. Because we're starting from this big vision. Take a moment for yourselves right now and ask yourself, if I could have the business of my dreams, how would that look like? And it does not just need to be retreats. It can have coaching programs, it can have consulting, it can have a brick and mortar business. How does that big vision, right? That goal that you might be thinking, well, maybe in 10 years I can reach that goal. What does it have? What products are you doing? Who are you talking to? Who's your audience? Do they want what you got? Okay, so now we have that vision, right? I have my vision. I'm speaking on stages and talking in front of people and inspiring thousands of people just like you to host profitable retreats, because there's room for everyone. You have that vision. How? Then you bring it into pieces. So you can start with some steps today. I am telling you, you can build a 6-figure retreat business. That does not mean your first retreat needs to make you 6 figures, even though it is possible. And that's why what I teach, right? All the possibilities and different avenues that you can take. Because I do believe that there's no cookie cutter strategy for your business. You get to create a model that works for you. So for example, if you want to run 1 retreat a year and make it a 6-figure retreat business, you can. If you want to run 3 or 4 or 10, you can. I remember I had a conversation with someone once and they said, I host retreats 3 weeks of the month. Okay. Now, that's something I would never build for my personal business. I do not have the capacity, the time, the energy. I love hanging out with people, but I need time to decompress and relax. We just came out of an event in Tampa, Florida, where I'm recording, and I had to take the next day off. I needed time for myself to recover, to bring back energy into my life and how I show up and who I am. So if I were running events every single week and then 1 week of a break, I would burn out. Now, there's people that have the energy and that's how they want to run their business, and that's perfectly fine. It's your choice. That's why we get to design a business model that works for you and no one else. At the same time, what that makes you, it makes you unique. You stand out in the crowded market. On our other company, We Summit, we run once a year, 1 retreat. That's it. And it makes us stand out because it's not something that you can achieve throughout the year. It's once a year. It sells out very, very quickly because people know that if they don't take action, they will have to wait for 12 more months for them to be able to make it happen. So that's the model that works for us in that business. There's people who do quarterly retreats or monthly short retreats that they use as lead magnets. Smaller retreats, smaller investment that then warms up people to come to their longer retreats where they have to travel elsewhere? Is this, lighting up your bulbs, thinking, ooh, would I do for my business? How do I want to show up in the world? Okay. So let's continue in this space of designing for profit. Let's go deeper into what it means to design for profit, because the reality is behind the scenes that we can design our businesses all the way we want. But if we do not have an intention of running a business that is not just revenue generating, but profit generating, that's a big, big difference. Because you can have revenue and then have cost of 95%. And still, you can consider that a profitable business, right? It's giving you 5% profit margin. Is that what you want for your life, for your business? A 5% profit margin? Or do you want a 30%, a 40%, a 50%, a 60%? These are the things that we cover when we're thinking about designing a business for profit. It's not just about how many retreats. It's about the number of retreats, the capacity, the consistency that we can have, the layers of profitability that we want to bring into our table. And most important of all, how do we want our life to look like? I know that I like to work half Fridays. And I rather travel over the weekend than on weekdays. What do you prefer? What do you want in your life? Because you get to make that decision. No one else can do that for you. You are the master of your life. Why are we letting other people dictate the price points that we need to sell our retreat at? I really don't understand it. It is such an important journey for us to discover who we are and what do we want to create, and then set the foundations in order for us to be able to reach that goal. And that's what we're going to be talking on our next episode, where we're going to be covering pillar 2, pricing for profit. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.